Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I am Jumeirah here in Dubai in the Jumeirah Mosque. After a very important request from the viewers of Iqra, we decided to have two more programs about one of the most famous activity here in Dubai, the visit of the Jumeirah Mosque. Most visitors are non-Muslims, and I would like to share with you the different reactions from the guests.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الصلاة خير من النوم. الصلاة خير من النوم. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
It's the very same words 5 times a day, except for the very early morning, there's one more sentence. So I'd like to translate to you the general meaning so you have an idea next time you hear this voice, whether you're in China, in Europe, in any continent, the call to the prayer will be in Arabic, and the very same words will be pronounced 5 times a day. First, he starts by saying Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar means God is the greatest. Not in the way that the Creator is something huge or a big body like the creation, but simply that God has the highest rank. This is the meaning of Allahu Akbar. After that he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Translated into English, it's, I testify that no one else deserves to be worshipped except the unique Creator, in Arabic Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is his prophet. After that, he said, come to the prayer, come to the success, twice each and every sentence. Then he said again, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. And finally, there is only one God. These are the words you hear 5 times a day. Now, at dawn time, the very first prayer, you know, it's like sometimes almost middle of the night for some people, you hear a call. Maybe you're living nearby a mosque or you're just visiting an Islamic country and you do not know what is going on. Dawn is the time for our first prayer, and at that moment the same words would be said for the call to the prayer, but the mu'adhin, the one who calls to the prayer, would add, prayer is better than sleep, for some reason. Maybe you need a little extra motivation when it's 3 or 5 a.m., you're in your warm bed, to leave the bed, go and pray. A prayer is anyway performed in about 3-4 minutes, so it's not like 45 minutes of meditation or whatever, but it's just that a little extra sentence that comes at dawn time for some reason. So this is the call to the prayer. After 10 or 20 minutes, you would expect Muslims together, whether at home, in mosques, or different areas of the society.
Can I ask if the 5 prayers directly correspond to the 5 pillars?
Say that again. If the 5 prayers correspond to the 5 pillars?
Yes.
Not at all. It's true that the 5 daily prayers is actually the second pillar of Islam. Shall I just mention the 5 pillars just by name? And if any one of you is interested, we can take questions on the different issues, but I don't want to give a full explanation. Just to make it clear, the first pillar of Islam is the testimony of faith. I translated before in the call to the prayer. I testify no one else deserves to be worshipped except the unique Creator, and I testify Muhammad is his prophet, or the prophet of God. That is the first pillar of Islam, the oneness in the Creator, believing that the Creator is not a body, he's not comparable to the creation, he's not confined or located in a place, because he existed before everything, he was perfect, and remains the same after creating everything, perfect and unchanged. Therefore, we don't believe that the Creator can be visualized or imagined, because imagination is a creation, and in Islam the Creator can never be resembled to the creation. So this is very generally what we understand by no one else or no one deserves to be worshipped except the unique Creator. He has no partner in dominion, and he's not alike the creation. The second sentence says that Muhammad is a prophet. I think that most of you do not really know that when we say Muhammad is a prophet, Muslims do not mean by that Muhammad is the only prophet, but actually Muslims have the duty to acknowledge and to accept, and not just accept, actually really love all the prophets of God. From Adam, who's the first human, our ancestor, everyone has heard that name somewhere. Adam is the first prophet in Islam. He's mentioned in the book of the Quran, until Muhammad. More than 120,000 prophets Muslims love and respect with Muhammad. We believe that all of them were sent by the very same Creator, and the original message was the same, to believe in one God and accept all the prophets. This is very generally the first pillar of Islam, and what we understand when we raise the finger in the prayer 5 times a day, or when we call to the prayer. This is the essence of our religion. The second pillar of Islam is the 5 daily prayers. You've heard the call to the prayer, and you saw the basic format of the prayer. Now quickly, just to add a couple of information about the 5 daily prayers, is that Muslims may pray anywhere, in, outdoors. I would say almost anywhere. Why? Because what you touch with your body has to be pure. Pure is, for instance, the sand, or if you're sailing your boat, the middle of the sea would be, as long as the location you touch is clean, you don't have to come back on the ground, you don't need to be with a group, you can pray alone, you can pray at home or in the middle of the valley. So flexibility in timings and locations makes it very easy for Muslims to pray almost anywhere. That's the second. Number 3 is Zakah. Zakah is a concept of obligatory charity. And if you want to know how it works, if you really are interested, I could give you more details. Basically, it's taking out of extra belongings, so it's not a tax. And this zakah is never going to government services, but 8 categories of people mentioned in the Quran, among which orphans, widows, unfortunate people, and those who deserve the help. The 4th pillar of Islam is Ramadan. Ramadan, I think, is one of the most famous names. I mean, wherever you go, people have heard of Ramadan, yes? I think most of you do know even a little bit about the rules. From dawn until sunset, Muslims should observe some rules. The idea behind Ramadan is not always understood. It's actually a work on yourself. Understanding that the link towards happiness is not owning more or possessing more, but being able to be controlled without the comfort or the material, and coming a little closer to poor people. So this is a work a Muslim is doing on himself or herself once a year. Ramadan is the name of the 9th lunar month. You may know that Muslims have a different calendar. We have a lunar calendar, which involves 10-11 days shorter than a solar calendar. As you know, January, February, the Gregorian calendar, refers to the sun for the calculation of years. So that's the difference. We have September as 9th month, and in Islam the 9th month is Ramadan, a month of worship where Muslims who can bear the hardship of fasting are required to fast. The last pillar of Islam is pilgrimage. Pilgrimage involves going to Mecca and its surroundings once in your lifetime. To give you a summary of the idea of pilgrimage, is seeking forgiveness from your Creator for all the previous sins you have committed, but it's not that easy. You need to leave out a lot of invalidators and perform some obligations. Al-Hajj will remind you the cycle of life. You come to the world with no material, just this instrument of communication, and you start amassing possessions and material, and you start behaving towards people by looking at the outside, understanding things from what you visualize. And sometimes in some societies we tend to forget that the inside is so important, what the heart carries, and how all this interaction would come from a clean intention. During pilgrimage, all this comes back very clearly because everyone has the very same dress code. It's one united, usually mainly white group, because the dress code is mainly white. We wear unworn, simple piece of cloth for men that is not stitched, and it reminds you on the way you will be buried. It's not to be lugubrious, but again, no matter how many years you live, whether long or short term, we will leave this world. And what will we take with us? Not our fancy clothes in our cupboard, not maybe the car you're driving, or anything you may have amassed, or even the huge amounts of money you have on your bank account would stay for maybe the people behind you. In the grave, we just take our deeds, intentions, acts, who we were inside. So during pilgrimage, all of this comes back smoothly to you, and you realize that on the day of judgment, you'll be just standing with your deeds and actions, and it just encourages the people to behave better and to be more controlled, like, you know, cleaning the inside rather than just giving an image. And going back to the societies, of course, we should usually improve, because the idea of having a brand new start gives you more motivation to be a better person and fit in a healthier society. So that's a quick idea of the 5 pillars. Therefore, number 2 is the second pillar of Islam is the 5 daily prayers. It's one of the pillars, but not the 5. Okay? Any other question? Yes? Can I have the mic on that side? And again, the questions could be about anything. It could be culture. It doesn't have to be religion. It does not have to be only the 5 pillars. It could be something you don't understand in this country, and you may not dare asking someone in the middle of the street. So please, I always say it here in the mosque, but I really believe in that. I think ignorance is one of our biggest enemies. If you lose the chance to interact, just ask questions, even if they seem extremely simple. We lose the chance to understand, and therefore we may have a fear of the unknown that is not always justified, because people do live differently in different parts of the world for different reasons. That doesn't make these good and these bad anyway. So please ask me any questions you would have. Sorry, is it the second time I step on your foot by any chance? I'm sorry. What was that hand in the back? I've lost it. Yes, please?
Why is Mecca the center of the faith? What is there?
Why is
Mecca the center of the faith?
Yes, well, let me just give you a short summary of the Kaaba. The Kaaba, you know that black cube? If you see it in a documentary, you see all these people circumambulate around, and you're not really understanding what is it. A lot of people ask me, is it empty? Is it, first of all, it's not a black cube. It is a cubic construction made out of stone. So it's, it's a brownish color. It's a room, and we believe that it was the first place of worship on earth. It was built by Prophet Adam, may peace be upon him. Now, I'd like to make a long story short, because I cannot give all the details. In the time of Prophet Noah, another prophet, may peace be upon him, the Kaaba was destroyed with the flooding. And therefore, later on, in the time of Prophet Abraham, the Archangel Gabriel came with the order from God to rebuild the Kaaba. So Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael rebuilt the Kaaba at the very same location it used to be, because the Archangel Gabriel took Prophet Abraham to that location, and there were still some, I would say, remaining foundations covered with several layers of dust. And the Kaaba was rebuilt. We believe that the very same Kaaba we have nowadays is the one that Prophet Abraham built with his son. Of course, there was just a little bit of renovation, maybe a couple of stones or so, but the actual building is there. Nowadays, it's covered with a black piece of cloth to be protected by the sun or different things, so it will need less renovation. It has a main door in a goldish color with verses of the Quran written on the door. So the Kaaba now is empty, and of course it would be far too small to welcome all the people who want to pray. As you've probably seen in the documentaries or pictures, around the mosque has been like open, and it's larger and larger. Every time it's made in like every few years in a way that they can welcome more and more people. During pilgrimage, there's an average of 5 million people in Mecca, because there's about 2 million inhabitants, or 2.5, plus those who are visiting for pilgrimage. So it gets really busy there. Therefore, they keep on trying to make it larger. So this is like the summary of the Kaaba. One thing about the Kaaba is that it happens to be right in the center of our earth, not just for Muslims. It's geographically spoken, it's a center point. And no matter on which side of the globe a Muslim is living, you would have like the same direction all Muslims would face throughout the day while performing their prayers, and it gives you this feeling of union and communion. Muslims do not worship the Kaaba. We would never worship a part of the creation, but we do respect the location, and we know that beautiful people have been there to perform their pilgrimage. Even previous Muhammad, we believe that Abraham was there, and the previous prophets, and it's just a very nice location for Muslims. The way we circumambulate around the Kaaba during pilgrimage is anti-clockwise. The same way actually planets and the whole universe, the rotation of the universe, and it just in a way could be a reminder for Muslims of how small we are and just part of the creation. Should give you some humbleness and meditation also on the rest of the creation.
Thank you. I'm interested in a Muslim's view of a secular state. What kind of relationship or view would a Muslim living in a secular state have of that state? Or is a theocratic state the aim of every Muslim?
I think first of all we need to give some numbers to make the situation a little clear. It's quite interesting to try to give facts and figures. First of all, do you know how many Muslims, let's say percentage, give me a percentage of Muslims living in the Middle East, because the Middle East is known as a Muslim region. Like a lot of people would think that the large majority is Muslim. So what is the percentage of Muslims in the Middle East? Anyone could give me a number? 80? 70? 33%. It's a minority. About 70% living in the Middle East are not Muslims. Another percentage is Muslims. Very often, Islam is perceived as a religion for Arabs. The percentage of Muslims, how much would that be? Sorry, the percentage of Arabs among the Muslims, because not all Muslims are Arabs. So let's think about a percentage. How much would you think there are Arabs in terms of percentage among the Islamic nation? 5%? No, come on, 5% of Arabs, where are they? Because I gave you a small percentage, now you're going to give me 1% of Arabs among Muslims. So if you look at them at Saudi Arabia and a lot of the countries, there is a percentage, but definitely it isn't 99 or how much is it? 20. Good. About 20, I think it's 22 now or something like that. So really a lot of people are still quite surprised when they hear these numbers. Only 22%, about 20% of Arabs among Muslims, that makes about 80% of Muslims. The large majority living on this planet of Muslims are not Arabs. They come from different continents and they're very different. And not each and every one of them is trying to change the government. Muslims are just like in any other belief system, different people in different levels of practices. It's true that we have a same common belief system, but again, in comparison to Christians living in different continents, they are very different in their behaviors, in their lifestyle, in their mentality. and also in how they behave in their political ideas. A Muslim living in a non-Islamic country is not in fault by living in a non-Islamic country, like some people try to push with some written, I mean, there's different like essays and books saying that Muslims should not live in non-Islamic countries. You've seen a large, I think, percentage of Muslims living in different countries and living very peacefully. Maybe not everyone know that they are actually Muslims. They don't have a Muslim look, just like a Buddhist, a Christian, or an Hindu doesn't even look, the look of the religion. But believe me, many Muslims are living in non-Islamic countries and they live a very normal Islamic lifestyle, generally talking, without offending the non-Islamic government and without being offended by the Islamic government. So it's not a duty to wherever you are to start a war, all the contrary. Actually, Muslims, if they have what we call a contract of peace, which could be equal to a visa given nowadays. When a visa is given to a Muslim, it means that this country, Muslim or not, I mean, to any human asking for a visa, what is the meaning of the visa? We accept you to come to our country thinking that you will be a peaceful person and not make any problems. A Muslim has the obligation to respect that contract. If he or she doesn't, then he or she is a sinner. But unfortunately, people, I think in all belief systems, you would see them, some of them would go to the extremes, either the loose or the exaggerated ways. And unfortunately, it doesn't reflect the majority, but for some reason, Muslims very often are portrayed, and especially through the media, as the large majority of us are potential terrorists or aggressive people. If you travel to the different Islamic countries, you'd realize that it's wrong. Only some countries that have a political problem have actually different issues. But regular countries, you would see regular humans who just live a normal life and follow the rules imposed by the government. Now, on planet Earth, there's not one country that is a real example of an Islamic country. The last time we had this, you have to go back in the time of the Ottoman Empire, which is a long time back. Yes?
What was your motivation to become a Muslim?
Oh my God, you have until tomorrow? My motivation to become a Muslim. Okay, every time I've been asked this question about, I think about 100 times, without wanting to lie. I've been here for about 5 years, between 4 to 7 times a week in the mosque. And it's been a joy to meet different people from, different backgrounds. And this question came many times. Of course, you see a woman in front of you who is not an Arab. She's European. She doesn't seem to be miserable. And because, usually it's like, oh, poor girl, she's embraced Islam for some people. So what's going on? I've been 18 years a Muslim, and obviously it makes me very happy. The reason why I became a Muslim is quite simple. It's because it made sense. It was very logical for me. Without wanting to offend anyone, since it's a personal question, I always need to answer on very personal base. So I was born and brought up a Catholic, but although I always believed in the concept, sorry.
You have been a Catholic before?
Yeah.
And your parents also Catholic?
Everyone was, yeah, Catholic in my family. No pre-Muslim. I mean, not like for the few previous generations. I don't know, maybe my ancestors came back, but I don't think so. No Arabs, no Muslims previously in my family. Born and brought up in Switzerland. My parents are originally from Spain. I went to church to do my communion and confirmation. So I always believed in the concept of a creator, I have to say, but going to church didn't bring me much in terms of convictions or answering my questions. Again, it's personal, so I'm answering personally. Some issues were actually for me just not acceptable, like the idea of baptism, that everyone is born sinful. All this just made so much sense when I approached Islam. Is like all humans are born innocent. And a baby will never be judged as going to hellfire for the eternity because someone didn't do a certain, procedure or I don't know, whatever is called through the baptism or in other belief system. And you start only being accountable once you become an adult or pubescent. And also the issue of Eve and the issue of having children that it's not a punishment. The pain is not a punishment, it's just something natural because your body is going through changes, and to be a mother is a beautiful blessing in Islam. Eve is beloved and respected by Muslims, and there's not such a focus on different issues. Jesus also is not a son of God, but very respected and noble prophet in Islam, and I didn't have to reject any of the names. Muslims love Jesus and Moses. We just love all of them, but we also accept Muhammad, and we understand, I think, so much better the meaning of life. This is what was explained to me when I became a Muslim. Why I'm on earth, not just to have maximum fun before I drop dead. I mean, you can have fun, but you can also try to give a meaning to your life. I have to say that before I became a Muslim, I was punk. So this may just give you an idea of why I'm speaking like this and why I was like that. For me, it was the society was kind of not really good, and everyone more or less had to change, but I thought I was kind of a great person, you know. When I became a Muslim, I realized that maybe I need to operate some changes on me before I can understand better what is around me. And it's just that Islam is very logical, and you understand how to worship God. He's not a body, he's not in a place, he's not incarnated, and you don't need to go through a third person to ask for forgiveness. It's just you and the Creator. Things for me became very simple and coherent, and I believe that in life you need to understand what you do. So that's why I became a Muslim.
من حمى البيت الحرام شع نور الدعوة يتثنى بالسلام والهدى والرفعة. من حمى البيت الحرام شع نور الدعوة يتثنى بالسلام والهدى والرفعة. فاستجيبي يا قلوب فاستجيبي يا قلوب إنه صوت الغيوب إنه صوت الغيوب. فاستجيبي يا قلوب فاستجيبي يا قلوب إنه صوت الغيوب إنه صوت الغيوب. فاستجيبي يا قلوب إنه صوت الغيوب. فاستجيبي يا قلوب إنه صوت الغيوب لجهاد وعلا. إنه وحي الإله للرسول الأعظم فيه مجد للحياة وفخار المسلمين. إنه وحي الإله للرسول الأعظم فيه مجد للحياة وفخار المسلمين. فأفيق يا شعوب فأفيق يا شعوب.